Hello, Let's Do Video viewers. Welcome back and welcome to the boardroom for the first time, Robert Abbott from Nureva. Robert, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, David. Uh, Rob Abbott, I'm the EVP of Product and Strategy at Nureva.
And for those who don't know, I think people who watch my channel probably do know. Anyone who doesn't know, could you tell us a little bit about the company?
Yeah, we're really focused on simplifying audio in large spaces. So we've been around in the audio space for about 7 or 8 years, and really making some strong inroads into corporate and higher ed use cases. And we have a patented technology called microphone mist, which really gives us some flexibility and unique approaches to simplifying large room audio.
Now, I want to get into this new product that we saw at the booth at InfoComm. Once I made my way through the crowd to get close enough to get a look at it, you guys were packed. But I think to understand this product, we need to understand microphone mist. So let me show a quick video.
Right?
Microphone mist technology fills a room with thousands of virtual microphones that pick up voices throughout the space. Even overlapping talkers are heard clearly by remote participants, who can easily engage in the conversation in a meaningful way. In-room participants can move freely throughout the space and still be heard clearly. It's a true breakthrough in audio conferencing.
Now, Now, I want to make sure my viewers get this because when I first was introduced to your company and I saw the products, I had the conception of, okay, it's a really high quality microphone on the wall. And I know what a really high quality microphone on the wall sounds like, but that's not what it functions like. It functions like as if there was a physical microphone at each seat, and not just at each seat. If someone walks around at any space in the room, there is an invisible physical microphone, which is ideal to have a physical microphone in front of your face, but without cables, without drilling holes. And it's really hard to believe. I mean, are you still dealing with demos of people saying, no, it doesn't do what you say it does?
Yeah, I think we did actually hit an inflection point at this InfoComm where because typically when you walk into the Nureva booth, one of the first things you do is you get a live demo, and we've always been I would call it brave, but we do real world demos where we do live team or Zoom calls back to various locations over the trade show internet, and it really was putting the technology kind of out there, laying it bare to experience it, and hearing is believing. And that was always the first step. But what we found this year is that we've kind of crossed over that hump, and most people had said, no, I know your technology. I've tried it in a few spaces. It is great. It does amazing full room audio coverage. Let's talk about the new things. So I think, David, it's a journey, but we're I think over that first wave of skepticism, and it's all about real world experiences and feedback. So I think we're crossing over into, let's go deeper into your other audio challenges.
And speaking of which, can you give us a quick overview of the new product, the HDX?
Yeah, absolutely. So the HDX, as you can see here behind us in our virtual boardroom, it's an extension of the Nureva product line. So our product that we're shipping today, the HDL 310 and 410, are not going anywhere. They're still an area of investment for us, and they'll continue to get better. And they are very much about conferencing centric use cases and spaces. The HDX is additive to the portfolio, and it will take our product into larger spaces, but more importantly into new audio use cases. And then kind of collectively, those two products will give our customers lots of choice.
Now, but when I saw this at the booth, I have to admit, I think I missed the boat on it. And reading the press on it, I don't think I'm the only one missing the boat on it. And it's not your fault because you just said it, right? My favorite feature about the, okay, the reason I missed the boat was I was a little dazzled by the design and the engineering and the specs and the fact that it could be vertical, which is nice and different, and the lights and from the engineering point, the speaker specifications and all that stuff is great. But my favorite thing about it is the use case, and that's what I was thinking conferencing, and you can be used for conferencing. But let me show. Well, you guys sent this to me,
Yes.
and this brought me back to college. And I completely forgot about this, but there was a special lecture hall. We called it the Magic Lecture Room. And supposedly the engineer who designed it was a genius. It was a little bigger than this, different shape, and made it acoustically perfect somehow. So when the professor was standing in just the right spot, she didn't have to use her professor voice. She could just talk in a normal voice, and everyone in every seat could hear her perfectly. In between class, we'd sit at that spot and talk and try it out. But it was just that one spot. The students, we still had to speak up. And if I'm understanding what the purpose of or one intended use of the HDX is for, it's to make every single spot in a room like this the perfect magically acoustic spot. Is that what this is gonna, or is that one of the things we're gonna do here?
Yeah, that's a great analogy, a great way of thinking about it. So one of the use cases that we're focused on is voice lift. And one of the big challenges when I talk to our customers, our global customer base, consistently, they raise the issue of in large rooms, in large spaces, tiered classrooms, et cetera, engagement is really, really suffering. And, to put it really bluntly, instructors can't get students to speak in classes. They're not asking questions. Therefore, the student at the front doesn't hear the question that they should have. And just the whole, using the higher ed context, the whole learning process is kind of stifled. And what we're trying to do is make interaction in larger spaces more natural. And the first thing you have to do is take away that barrier of I have to shout, or I have to walk to a certain space and get a wireless microphone, or some other obstacle that isn't natural that generally stops people from participating. So, but that's our goal, and that's the problem that we're kind of zoning in on. And but you're absolutely right. The goal here is that using in this room you see we have 4 audio bars. You can see 3 of them, but the 4th is kind of over your shoulder there in the picture. And we have microphone pods, which is a completely new kind of element to our solution. And the microphone pod in this case, its job is to really help with student lift in this scenario. And so using microphone mist and using, again, the way you described it, which is we filled a room full of virtual microphones in this unified coverage map. And so we're able to identify where a talker is in the space. We are also aware of where each element is, where each speaker is relative to the other. So knowing where the talker is, knowing where our audio bars are, we can do all kinds of clever things in terms of, well, let's pick up the student in the back right corner and let's then amplify their voice or lift their voice using the other speakers, applying the appropriate gain based on a kind of distance. And so it's all very subtle but natural. But exactly to your magic room example is that can we make every room have these magical acoustic properties that encourage natural communication in large spaces?
No, it's funny. We've all experienced that when the shy kid finally gets the courage to speak up and, Professor, I have a question. Is it okay if da 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 da? And the professor says, can you speak up? And you just see them wilt.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, I often say that the smartest person in the room is probably the quietest. And in the business context where you're trying to solve problems, you have a project meeting, the same kind of blockers to collaboration still exist as we turn into adults. That doesn't go away, the hesitancy to speak. And so yeah, we have to get everyone's voice heard in room and the remote participants. And in kind of giving everyone a voice, we think collaboration could be a lot better.
Yeah, social anxiety is real, not just in school, but in the workplace. Now, the next thing I got excited about here, I'm already pretty happy about this, but we need flexibility now. Post-pandemic, every space is a collaboration space, a workspace, a video space, and we have spaces with everything's on wheels, everything's moving around, and this isn't just we're sitting down and listening to a lecture. This is a workspace, and I'm on one little corner, and you're on the other corner. I don't want to shout across and say, Rob, do you have that file? I just want to be able to talk to everyone in the room as if we're all able to hear each other. So we can support this kind of room.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's true that every large space is now a multi-purpose space. We used to think about multi-purpose spaces as this special room in an organization or in a university or a corporation. But no, every big room is getting asked to do many, many different things. And so what that means is you put your furniture on casters. This room that you're seeing here doesn't have a single kind of front of room. It can be configured to use the side wall as the front of the room, the back wall as the front of the room. Everything's shifting, and it's pretty fascinating. You look at the day of a day in the life of a large space, and it's like every hour that room is changing for a different purpose. It could be a lecture, it could be a collaborative session, it could be a training. It just keeps shifting. And so the promise of our product and of Microphone Mist is that we will continuously kind of monitor and auto-calibrate this space based on the layout, based on the acoustic properties, based on the number of people. And for an IT manager, that means you're not going to get a call to come in and say, my room sounded great an hour ago, and now people are complaining. They can't. The remote participants can't hear. And so we like to think of it as a one-touch room. And we don't mean one touch in terms of the join button. It means you install it once and that's it. The technology will adapt to varying layouts and use cases. And so this is a great room that articulates the needed adaptability of technology in modern large spaces.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone appreciates how tricky audio can be. Audio has to be like locked down. Like the room is in a certain configuration, and I've worked in rooms where the microphone, if someone moves it, the audio engineers run in and say, "Did someone touch the microphone? It needs to be in that exact." I have to retune the whole entire room now. And by the way, getting the microphones out of where people could touch them and putting them on the walls, that solves part of the problem. We have our virtual microphones in front of us. But the reconfiguration, even with the physical microphones off the table, what if someone moves a plant in the corner? That can redo the acoustics of the whole room. So an easy, one-touch reconfiguration or auto reconfiguration, as opposed to having someone run in the room and say, "Who moved something? I have to reconfigure." It's not just a nice to have.
No, absolutely. I mean, you think about this general trend at IT departments, AV departments need to do more with less. They have less budget and they have less people. So just really practically, how do you manage 300 classrooms with a team of 3? You just cannot afford to be going into spaces frequently. It's just it's not practical. So it isn't. Yeah, it's not a nice to have anymore. These types of features and functionality are required in kind of the modern landscape that we're in.
Yep. And just to double down on the flexibility part of it, the Let's Do Video audience, all I used to care about is meeting rooms, boardrooms, rectangles, looks like a bowling alley. And we got really good at this, and this is all that mattered. But we're not talking about rooms anymore. We're talking about spaces, and spaces can be anything. And it's a little small, hard to see, but you get the idea. All sorts of different places. That's anything anywhere you could put your feet down at the office. We're going to be using that now. We need to be able to hear each other. So the flexibility goes beyond even what we were talking about. It has to be any kind of crazy space.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, a little bit just about the modularity of the system that kind of lends itself to support the flexibility you talk about. So you can see here in these examples, with the HDX, you can really build different configurations from 3 core elements. So we have audio bars, we have microphone pods, and then we have a system hub that is the heart of the system. But you can see here in the examples that you can build it up from a 2-bar system to a 4-bar system to 2 bars with a pod, 4 bars with 2 pods. Very flexible based on the size of room and the use cases you want to enable. So that flexibility is critical. You also mentioned, we have this vertical format, which lends itself really well when a system is both a microphone and a speaker. And so the top half of that bar is a 2D microphone array, and the bottom half is a 2-way full range audio system. And so just putting those 2 things in one component has some challenges, but it really lends itself to the flexibility. You could even put this system on a tripod and set up a temporary space. So if every once a month you do your town hall in your lunchroom, you could easily bring in an HDX, put it on tripods, and run your town hall. And then it's that flexible, as an example.
I was about to say, can't get much more flexible than that. Now, there's one more feature I want to get into and it's kind of near and dear to me because at InfoComm I had a panel on accessibility in AV, captioning, audio adaptive assistance, and whatnot. And two of my panelists were deaf, and they had assisted devices so they could know what I was saying. I was connected. InfoComm had something set up where they had an app, and you could scan the app, and the text would show up on the app. But there's different, there's audio devices and text devices and whatnot. And as I'm sitting in this panel and learning from my panelists, I'm like, we need more of this. This is not, someday we should do this. This has to get in place right now. And I'm understanding we have some sort of accessibility features in the HDX.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So we looked at the whole range of audio challenges in larger spaces. So we talked about full range distributed speakers, full room microphone coverage. We talked about voice amplification and voice lift scenarios. And then, yeah, a fourth area we really dove into was assistive listening. And so every HDX system comes with assistive listening with Auracast as an included feature. And so Auracast is kind of an emerging technology. It's a kind of built on Bluetooth, low energy, and really it's a one-to-many broadcast is the simple way of describing it. So as your scenario about your instructor who was speaking, we will be capturing that instructor, and then in parallel, kind of behind the scenes, be broadcasting an Auracast channel that anyone in that audience could subscribe to, and then listen to using their own devices, be that a hearing aid or earbuds, headphones, and it's emerging. So we are betting that all devices will have some Auracast capability shortly, and in the interim, there are solutions to kind of make non-Auracast enabled devices compatible through receivers and things. So, but we feel that's very, very important. We'll continue to support the kind of traditional assistive listening, the hearing loops, et cetera. But really, we want to kind of point the product to where the technology capabilities are going. So we think that's really powerful. And you mentioned deaf people or people with severe hearing challenges, but there's a large percentage of the population that have much more subtle hearing challenges and are missing as well. So we think it's kind of that explicit need that you talked about, but there's a latent need for assistive listening in many, many scenarios in large spaces. So it's the right thing to do, and we think it's time that you take a holistic view at all the audio problems that occur.
And I think Nureva should get a lot of credit here because you're doing it when it's the right thing to do, and some companies wait until it's the regulated thing to do. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Although it should be regulated, you should have to do it, but still, you guys get full credit.
Yeah, it is fairly. There is a requirement to provide these types of assistive listening capabilities in certain spaces, public spaces, and I think just the industry as a whole is kind of in between two kind of technology curves. The old way of doing it isn't really relevant, and new ways are emerging. And so I think this is the right path.
Absolutely. Now, a couple more things I want to get into. We have a big IT AV crowd that watches this. They're the ones who once the customers say, "Oh yeah, we want this in place," they're the ones to be hanging and banging. I think they might hate that expression, so I'm sorry if they hate that expression. And managing. So we need simplicity. And it looked like it was pretty simple to install, but let you take me through that. But once we get them up, I'm not going to have one room of these. I might have hundreds. So how am I gonna manage all this?
Yeah, no, I think that is one of the challenges as you add more pieces to a solution and you get more sophisticated and add use cases. How do you not lose the simplicity? And that is very much again what drives us, how to simplify large room audio. So we've done a whole bunch of things, but I think first and foremost, we talked about auto-calibration and how the system does auto-calibrate once installed. We talked about how flexible the system is to install, so you don't have to think too much about where you put components. We today utilize power over Ethernet, so your power and your data all through a single cable, and we'll keep leveraging that technology. So yeah, all of 6 of these components will be connected via power over Ethernet back to the system hub. So keeping it as simple as we can. We have a Nureva app which is all about pre-installation and even pre-sale. So you can walk in as an integrator. You can do an acoustic check on the room, see the health of the space acoustically. The app can also help tell you where to put the audio bars for maximum speech intelligibility and audio performance. The app also allows you to just set up the system without getting on your customer's network. So a consumer-like experience really is what we're trying to enable. So you're an integrator with an iPhone in your hand, getting a pro quality system set up. So that's kind of one thing that we do. And then you talked about scaling, and so every Nureva system includes Nureva Console, which is our cloud-based device management and monitoring and analytics platform. So once installed, we give you the tools for remote management. So back to our scenario, 3 people in an AV team trying to manage 300 classrooms, or an integrator with multiple systems installed across different organizations. You're able to monitor the health, get status checks, get alerts if things go offline, and tune. You can tune right at the level of kind of every setting in a Nureva system from a remote location. So great flexibility and scalability as well.
That should put a lot of our viewers at ease, because they're the ones who are going to have to be managing these things, and they don't want to go room to room.
No, absolutely, they can't afford to.
So a couple final things. One thing, and I'm glad this is becoming a part of the story with new products in the industry. But I'm seeing more and more when we have a new product, there's a sustainability story. So do we have some sustainability elements in the HDX?
Absolutely, yeah. We really considered sustainability right from the design and development of the product, and so there's always trade-offs in terms of cost and time to market when you do things like this. But they were again the right thing to do, and they're important increasingly to our customers as well. So we first looked at how do we make sure the product has a really long shelf life, that you don't have to replace it. A simple example is the system hub that we described earlier is all solid state. It doesn't have a fan. It all just uses passive heat radiation. It's a nice aluminum chassis, which is very recyclable, just as an example on that one element. And then we have a really healthy kind of wave or continuing development train of new features and functionality that all can be just added as software or firmware updates to a system. So it gets better over time and has a really nice long shelf life. From our materials, we absolutely looked at post-consumer products, post-consumer recycled products for all the plastic components and the fabric as well. The fabric is a kind of 95% post-consumer material. Aluminum is very recyclable. We spent more effort on our energy saving modes. So the ability to put the system into sleep and in standby to save energy was also a thing that we really thought about. So yeah, we really looked at 4 or 5 areas that we could add value. And then lastly, we looked at our packaging, and we've moved to pulp and paper packaging material. So again, right from the packaging to the supportability and the materials we used, we consider sustainability along the whole life of the product.
Nice. And I have no problem saying to my viewers, look for sustainability in your vendors, demand it, make it a shopping priority. It does make a difference, especially with the scale that we're talking about. So my last question for you is, how was your InfoComm? What'd you think of the show?
Yeah, well, it's always a grueling experience, as we were talking about at the beginning before we got on air here. Yeah, it's a mixture of exhaustion and extreme excitement is how you feel when you come back. And so, but the show for us was great. We had record-breaking number of leads in our booth. So our booth was really busy. The show told our kind of our whole portfolio story. And was full of integrators. I was really happy to see not only integrators, but that there was I've heard that it was a record-breaking number of end users as well, at least as a percentage of total attendees. And I think that's great. I think that is really healthy when InfoComm can have a balance of the integrator reseller community and end users. And I felt it was maybe shifting away from that a little, but it is really positive to hear that is shifting back. And organizations like HETMA are an important part of that. And we were very involved with HETMA, and we're a HETMA sponsor, and we were attending the HETMA Higher Ed Summit prior to InfoComm. So I think it's really important that Avixa and InfoComm continues to evolve, and look at end users and integrators. So very positive. We also had a meeting room where we were showing some more hands-on experiences, and that was really, I think, a really good way of doing
Party
it.
room.
Some things make sense in a booth. Yeah.
That was come on. That was a party room. I was there. We had food. We had drinks. There was a bar.
You call that a party, David? Maybe we need to talk.
We had
later.
the HDXs set up with music, and that's the ultimate test. If you can handle music, you could do voice.
Yeah, exactly. So we were definitely showcasing the full range audio fidelity of the speaker system in the HDX, and having a nice informal time as we were talking about the product functionality. We were demoing Auracast there as well. But it is really important that we manufacturers tell both sides of their stories. And I think increasingly people want to kind of get their hands dirty with products, and it's all about the proof of touching, feeling, hearing, seeing the product. So we'll continue to kind of find that balance. And it's just great to have conversations with analysts like yourself and our customers and our integrators in that type of setting. And for me, being on the product side, it's invaluable that we just hear that feedback and we listen to it. And we're on a journey here. So we have a plan with the HDX, but we're also able to kind of adapt to the feedback that we're hearing. And we got some great ideas out of InfoComm.
Yeah, and I think we've proven that the microphone mist technology has gone beyond conferencing now. And I feel like I got to keep an eye on it. But I want to just appreciate what you said about the show, because I feel like it's already been like 6 years since the pandemic. But since the pandemic hit, when the shows came back, they were, it's still a great show for vendors and for press and for analysts, but the end users aren't all back yet. And it's nice to hear that you're happy with the amount of end users that are coming back to InfoComm, because it's not the only thing that matters in the show, but it's the one thing that everyone asks about. It seems to be the big thing. So it's a good, and InfoComm is such a great show. I feel a little relieved to hear you say that.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, the end user has to be the source of truth, and then you kind of feed back through your integrators, your channel, your ecosystem, and it's all such an important part of how does the value get delivered ultimately. But it has to start and end with the end user experience. So I think that's why it's really important. It just keeps us all, I think, on track as we think about how to grow our businesses and build great products.
Yeah. So if you are an end user, you could look for Nureva at the next show. They will be sure to be there, and as will I. Rob, thanks so much for being here. This was awesome, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll put some links down in the chat so you can learn more, and please like and subscribe.